Hi, it's Jackie from Cambridge Safety. Welcome to one of our Take 5 minutes for Health and Safety videos to just bring a key topic to your attention. In this video, we're going to have a look at confined spaces. So confined spaces are dangerous places. So if in doubt, keep out is a good bit of advice. So we're going to have a look at what a confined space is. So we do have some regulations, the innovatively called Confined Space at Work regulations, and they define a confined space. So it's an enclosed area. It doesn't have to be a small area, but it's an enclosed or semi-enclosed area where there arises a reasonably foreseeable specified risk. And the specified risks are the risks, not what I specify, they're the ones that are specified in the regulations. So we'll have a look at those in a second. So typical workplaces that would be a confined space. So it could be going into a storage tank, a silo, a sewer, open topped chamber, a vat, a tunnel, and even things like a deep excavation. So they don't have to be small, but they're enclosed or semi-enclosed. So the specified risk, so you know what a hazard is, that's the thing with the potential to cause harm, the harm that that hazard might lead to. So the risk, specified risk, is the risk of fire or explosion, and that could be because we've got hazardous and flammable fumes or vapors. Loss of consciousness from increase in body temperature. So if the work area is very, very hot, like you're climbing inside an oven, loss of consciousness or asphyxiation from gases, fumes, vapors, or a lack of oxygen. So again, it's a fume, it's a gas, it's lack of oxygen, and the risk is then loss of consciousness or asphyxiation. We've got the specified risk of drowning in a liquid, and we've got, unfortunately, drowning in a free-flowing solid. So but a free-flowing solid could be something like grain and things like that, as well as perhaps what's in a sewer. So you've got an enclosed area. If it's got one or more of these specified risks, it's going to be classed as a confined space. So as I've mentioned, we've got the confined space regulations of 97, and they basically say, firstly, can you avoid the need to enter? So if we need to clear a blockage, can we put down a mechanical piece of equipment to actually clear the blockage, or blast it through with air or water, rather than someone going into that confined space. So you should only work in a confined space when it's not reasonably practicable to do that work without entry. But if you do that entry, it's a suitable and sufficient risk assessment, and you must have a safe system of work, trained people, and you must always have a plan B. So you must always have emergency procedures as well. So in terms of our safe system of work, so a safe system of work is how we're going to carry out this work safely. It's going to include the equipment. So it's going to talk about competency of the people doing it, and highly competent to go into a confined space. How we're going to communicate if we're in the confined space with people outside. How do we need to monitor the atmosphere and test it? And if we are going to do that, what equipment we're going to use? Has it been calibrated? Does it work? Do we need to force some air through to get rid of the fumes and vapors? Do we need to have ongoing ventilation? What about the removal of any residue? Because that residue could be generating the fume, gas, or vapor, or increasing the risk of a fire or explosion. If there's something flowing through it, do we need to isolate it and turn it off so nothing comes in when we're in that confined space? What personal protective equipment or respiratory protective equipment are we going to need, making sure it's suitable? And as I say, also, we need to have a plan B. What happens if it goes wrong? What about our emergency procedures? So you've got your safe system of work, but because going into a confined space is so high risk, you will normally then have a permit to work to extend. It doesn't replace the safe system. You've still got your safe system, but the permit to work is, I am permitting you to carry out this task on this day in this confined space, and it's going to confirm we've got the right arrangements in place to ensure the safety of the people going in, and we've got those arrangements should we need to get them out in an emergency. So our permit to work is, it will cover one confined space. So this is the confined space that we are going in. It will cover a description of the work. What are we actually doing when we go in? It will have a start and a finish time. So it's one day on one location at one time. We've got to do some sampling of the air and record that in our permit to work to show that we've sampled the gas or the oxygen. If it needs to be isolated, our permit to work will confirm and we'll record that we have isolated, we've locked off so no one else can pump something in or start things up while we're in there. Record the ventilation level. Record what specific personal protective equipment or respiratory equipment is needed and what we've got and what we're going to use. Are there any restrictions on work methods? So no hot work, perhaps not having any matches or lighters where we could accidentally use those to create a fire or explosion. Confirmation that we said in the safe system of work, it talks about communication. In the permit to work, it's confirming. Can I get a signal if I'm going to be using a radio? How do I actually sound the alarm? Making sure these communication means are working. As you might have your equipment to do your ordinary work, but you might also need emergency equipment. You might need to be wearing a harness, or we might have to have a winch that we could winch somebody out. We might need to have not only breathing apparatus, but we might need to have emergency breathing apparatus that allows us to get out, just gives us that few minutes to get out of the confined space. So then your permit to work is, I'm permitting you to carry out the work. So you're going to have an authorized person issuing the permit. It's then going to be accepted by the people that are doing the work. And then as they go along, they're going to sign to confirm things that are being done. Then once the task is finished, we're going to check that everything is put back in place as it should. And then the person who authorized it should be the same person who then signs it off at the end to say that everything is put back, everything is safe, and we can now withdraw the permit and cancel it. So we've done a quick potted tour about confined spaces and the importance of having not only a safe system of work, but a permit to work as well. So thanks very much for watching. It's Jackie Cambridge from Cambridge Safety.